Who knew it was going to take so long? All right, so we are live. Hi, Melissa. How are you doing today?
Hello. Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I know it seems awkward because we've been on Zoom for like 30 minutes before this. Um, so this is a new version of our Friday Facebook Live. Um, I am joined by one of our tutors, Melissa. And Melissa is a passionate educator and lifelong learner. In her time as a journalist, she reported on issues in education. Her desire to help students through their struggle led her to leave journalism and pursue a teaching certification in 2007. Melissa has taught grades K through 3 and has worked as a reading interventionist. She works with a lot of our reading students. And Melissa is full of love and encouragement when it comes to students and loves to celebrate their successes. She has a Master's of Arts in Teaching, special education teaching certification. And 8+ years with teaching and tutoring experience. So we're really happy to have you on, Melissa. I know we're having a little bit of connection issues, but hopefully it won't be a super big struggle. Um, Tell us a little bit about yourself and what shapes your perspectives as a parent and as an educator.
I have definitely seen education change quite a bit from when I started teaching in the, I guess, early 2000s to now that my daughter is in first grade. And it's a little crazy. I wonder how we're going to be able to get everything in that we need to get in, especially with this year with COVID. When I was in the classroom back in 2016, we were, still very heavily focused on assessments and center-based learning. And now I'm seeing my daughter have to do a lot more work on the computer, both assessment-wise and just with her daily learning. And I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that, both as a mom and as an educator. I feel like kids definitely need that face-to-face interaction with the teacher. I see my daughter, even though she is very bright, she is very intelligent, and she does well when she's on a computer and doing certain things that I know she's capable of doing. She becomes very frustrated, and it's very difficult to get her to complete things. And I think to some of the students that I've had in the past, not so much my tutoring students because we are solely online, but I could see them very easily, shutting down or falling farther behind academically, um, if they're having to do most of this learning, through a screen and not being able to work directly with an adults. So in that way, I'm a little concerned with maybe how the uh, flow of education may be going. But I'm also hopeful that once COVID settles down and we can hopefully return fully back face to face next year, that we might start to see some of that get ironed out, because I do really feel like kids need to be with the teachers. They need to be there face to face, whether to get that support if they're struggling or to be able to get that enrichment um, in the areas that might need it as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think what I'm hearing from you too is like technology is not bad and the online stuff is not bad, but without that one-on-one attention that kids get in the classroom, it can be really hard, especially for those kids who are behind or struggle with learning differences, and things like that, because it's just like you need somebody there that knows you and can help you. Um, and I agree. I hope once kids, go back to whatever normal is going to be like next year, um, maybe we will see a marriage of these new technology skills that we've acquired, with teaching practices that are best practice. Um, hopefully some good things
Mhm.
can happen there. So your daughter she's was online learning. I think she's doing like a hybrid type thing right now where you guys have an asynchronous day. Um, and so some people might think that you have a huge advantage
Yes.
because you're an educator. Having your daughter at home, like they might think that that's breezy for you because you're a teacher, right? Like what could go wrong? Do you agree?
Um, in in some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. My daughter is an only child, so for her, the social piece is huge that she gets from school. Whether it's the opportunity to be around the friends that she's known for a while that she just doesn't get to see as much because of COVID, or just being able to be around her classmates and get to know other kids better, kids from different backgrounds and whatnot. For the social piece, no. She absolutely needs to be, or is better suited to being in school and being around others, both her teacher and classmates. When she first started with the virtual or online learning last spring, when everybody shut down, that wasn't so bad because we only had maybe 2 months um, of the school year left, and they weren't doing any. They weren't doing any virtual, so it was all paper pencil work that we kind of completed at our own pace with her. That worked out a little bit better uh, because we could kind of set the schedule and allow her to kind of wake up and kind of get the day started before we hit the ground running with the academic part. But then this year, once we started the hybrid, um, it was a little bit easier because she has the same teacher that she had in kindergarten. So she's at least familiar with her teacher and her classmates. So that piece has been a little bit easier. But as far as it being better to have mommy, um, sh- she is very much the type of student who is much better served taking the instruction from her teacher. We have had many moments where I will let her know, hey, mommy is just kind of supporting what your teacher is already telling you. I'm here to kind of help since she can't physically be here. Um, and some days that works well for us, other days it does not. And I've had a lot of friends say the same thing to me that, it's awesome that she has you because she's going to be so far ahead. But there are some days where she's just a typical kid. And if she doesn't want to do it, it doesn't get done. No matter how much mommy knows and can kind of support her or not. And I think the biggest part for her is that she doesn't want me to be her teacher. She very much loves the teacher that she has, and she just wants me to be mommy and do the mommy things. So, um, I think that having your mom as a teacher can certainly help in some instances. And I'm not going to say that it has hurt her because I at least am familiar with the curriculum that they are working through. So if she does hit stumbling blocks and it is an instance where we can't reach out to her teacher, I am able to walk her through it. So in that way, I feel like maybe we have a little bit of an advantage, from the parents who don't have any of that formal training and don't know certain steps to work through stuff. But I mean, it's a typical mom daughter relationship in the middle of a pandemic. So um, there are some advantages, but I think for the most part, we're kind of just trudging along just like everybody else, really.
Yeah, and it's hard, I'm sure, like you said, she wants you to be her mom and not her teacher. And we've had people come into the tutoring group to get help for their kids that are teachers themselves because that dynamic is just not. always the most conducive to learning, sometimes your kid just needs it from somebody else. They need their teacher
Mhm.
or another adult telling them what to do because, you're telling them to clean their room or that they need to brush their teeth and then also telling them, how to do their math. That's a lot. Okay, so
It
uh,
is.
yeah, it is a lot. So, what advice, having that unique perspective of teacher and mom, what advice do you have for parents who are trying to support their kids' learning at home right now?
I think the first thing that I would say is to not, and I know this is gonna probably seem, easier said than done, but to not really stress, um, about how much you are or aren't getting done, um, because regardless of the type of school year that it is, and this one has obviously been very non-traditional. My daughter just went back to school 4 days a week this week, um, with 1 day off. She's mostly been home for the last year. And, we've done the required assignments, and then she does, a little bit of extra stuff that she enjoys, and then she goes off and she does her typical six-year-old things for the rest of the day. And I feel like it's very important to have that balance for kids, regardless of the age, especially now with it being so crazy. That your child's teacher is going to let you know this needs to get done, this needs to get done, this needs to get done. Focus on that and don't worry about the rest, because in the fall, regardless of if there's any virtual component or not, there's always that period of kind of refreshing and reviewing and kind of getting everybody back in the groove of learning again. So, if your child has had kind of a tough time of it this year, just staying focused on those, daily or weekly things that are kind of coming in from the teacher, or things that you see or have been told that they need the support with, put your energy towards those. Um, and don't worry about trying to check off all the other little tiny boxes as well, because oftentimes, those are the things that will kind of just sort themselves out as time goes on. And if not, it's always something that can be addressed as the next year starts.
That's great advice. I totally agree with all of that. So, um, you were talking about this school year and thinking about next school year. What about summer? Like, what should we be hitting the subject super hard over summer, worried about them kids being caught up by fall? Or what do you suggest that parents do with their kids over the summer um, if they're wanting to do something?
I think unless you're told from your child's teacher, which most teachers are probably going to be starting to have those conversations about the next school year if they haven't already. If you're not flat out being told, that your child is possibly going to be retained, or for sure is going to be retained, um, you know, but they're maybe having a little bit of a tough time with how this year is gone, by all means, uh, you know, support them, but I don't think that it necessarily needs to look super rigid either. Again, that could also depend on how your student learns best. Sometimes my daughter likes to sit and do some, math flashcards with me. More often than not, that is not her cup of tea. But when she's up for it, we might do some of that to work on the fluency. Um, but especially if you have younger children, um, just trying to incorporate that just into your daily lives and the daily things that you do. Like if you're outside, just talking about the weather and using different weather terminology, or if you have a chance to go to, especially for us being in North Carolina, like to a state park or to a museum of some sort, especially on like the rainy days or like the super hot days where we can't be outside. I mean, that's a super great way to get some learning in, get them out of the house, um, and make it fun. With the older kids, that's a little tougher. I can't speak too much to that because of both the age group that I've worked with and the age of my daughter. But I would say just anything that allows them to, uh, I guess maybe sneakily learn, where they're getting an educational experience, but they're also having a lot of fun too. So maybe drag them along to the museum or to the park. But really just trying to, maybe foster some of those connections as you go about your day. And again, not making it super rigid or making it seem like you're, um, within a set time period, like having to do a certain subject focus.
Yeah, I agree, and I think too, it will amaze you once you're looking for learning opportunities within your day, how many you will find. Um, like gardening
Mhm,
and doing house projects and like
mhm.
thinking about the instances where you're using those skills in your daily life and then kind of like involving your child in that in an age appropriate way. I think that's a great suggestion. Because yeah, like kids, they need a break and it doesn't
Yes.
always have to feel um like hardcore workbook learning. Me and you have had some discussions about workbooks and um, our disdain for maybe the overuse of them for some summer learning activities. And some kids are super into
Yes.
workbooks. So if your kid's into that, then buy them every workbook they want. But okay. So um, I want to wrap this up because we try to keep these short. I know the interview ones are a little bit longer. Um, but do you want to tell us a little bit about the work you do with your students here at Hoffman Tutoring Group and if you are taking students over the summer?
Um, so as you had mentioned, when we started, mostly working with students having difficulty in various aspects of reading, and also with writing. My certification does go up to grade 6, and I do have a couple of students in that age range right now. But focusing a lot on the early phonics, phonemic awareness, vocabulary and comprehension. So the skills needed to either strengthen their ability as readers, or if they are like my daughter, kind of in that beginning reading, to just make sure that that foundation is really strong. But with my journalism degree, and the experience that I've had there, also work with a few students on writing, different writing concepts and how to organize and form paragraphs or essays, help them to strengthen their uh, word choices and kind of organize their thoughts in a more clear, coherent manner. And so, to that end, I am certainly open and welcome to working with students once the traditional calendar year comes to a close. Um, our schedule is pretty fluid with just having my daughter here at home, so it does allow me the opportunity to take on perhaps a few more students than I may have been able to do um, with the traditional school year schedule and pick up and drop off and whatnot. So definitely looking forward to being able to perhaps meet some more new students this summer.
And you guys, Melissa is an amazing reading tutor and writing tutor. Like the growth that her students have seen is incredible. So if you are watching this and you're thinking maybe your child might benefit from meeting with Melissa over the summer, make sure you reach out. I'm going to put the link in the comments because I think her schedule is going to fill up fast, and so you don't want to miss out on that. Um, Melissa, thank you so much for meeting with me and giving us all this great advice. It was
You're so
awesome. And you're also writing some blogs for the Hoffman Tutoring Group website, which is also really great. So um, I want people to know, don't make sure you don't miss out on that as well. Um, I'm sure we will have you on again shortly with all of the advice that you have. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your Friday.
thank you, you too.